Hey guys, what's up? This is Insanity. Got a game of Black Ops 3 on PC. This video is going to be a review on Suicide Squad, which I watched a few weeks ago. And this commentary was something I planned to do immediately until other things happened. For me though, when I finished Suicide Squad, I ended up walking away from the theater with nothing but indifference. I did read a lot of reviews for Suicide Squad, and obviously there were tons of negative ones, but even so, I didn't let them cloud my perception, and I actually gave the movie a chance, just like I gave Batman v Superman a chance. For that film, I thought it was okay. It's not as bad as the reviews have it, but all the problems they have of it boil down to creative decisions I didn't agree with, one of them being that Superman was clearly an afterthought, while Batman took the spotlight and the Justice League universe was a bigger concern. Normally, I'm not hard to please, and I don't judge pieces of fiction too harshly, particularly superhero movies. But with Suicide Squad, I thought the movie was just a giant resounding meh. Like Batman v Superman, it's not as bad as the reviews make it out to be, but this time the movie's problems, in my mind, they boil down to a purely technical level, unlike Batman v Superman. I didn't have high expectations, but the trailers for the movie seemingly depicted a movie that would be fun and entertaining to watch. At bare minimum, this would have been enough. But I was honestly baffled by a lot of the decisions that they made in the movie, whereas with Batman v Superman, I just didn't agree with them. But here, I just didn't understand the decisions they made. The entire beginning is essentially a giant extradition dump, with pop songs being spammed left and right, a glorified music video essentially, and the pop songs continue to get spammed later on throughout the movie. There are numerous flashbacks to give the audience some background on each character, but half the squad are essentially filler characters and we don't spend much time with them. This becomes a problem when the movie decides to throw in several emotional moments as we approach the end of the movie, and it brings up the idea of family and comrades in arms, with one of the characters resolving himself to act because he doesn't want to lose another family. But this is incredibly awkward because we don't spend much time on the characters apart from Deadshot, Harley Quinn, and Rick Flag, and they just met each other. The emotional moments were well acted, but they were not earned in the slightest. El Diablo, the guy who is the one who says he doesn't want to lose another family, at least he had a small arc to set up for that emotional beat. Deadshot is played by Will Smith, which meant he was always going to have a sympathetic angle to him and was never going to truly be a bad guy in spite of him saying the team are bad guys. And Harley gets emotional and calls the members of the Suicide Squad her friends at one point, despite the fact that she tried abandoning them to reunite with the Joker when he tries to rescue her. Captain Boomerang is being a giant douche most of the time. Killer Croc, he pretty much is just standing around not really doing anything. Katana is not part of the team, but she doesn't really talk much in the film. Who else? Oh, and Slipknot gets himself killed, so it doesn't really interact much. So basically, all these people who barely knew each other and don't even interact with each other that much are suddenly being emotional and being all buddy-buddy with each other, where it doesn't really make sense at all. So that I thought was really baffling. Speaking of the Joker, the trailers made it seem as though he was going to have a big part, but his role is nothing more than an extended cameo, and he's in the film to support Harley's story mostly, which means that it's difficult to make a judgment call on whether he's a good Joker or not, as he's only a side character and extended cameo rather than a full-fledged one. Judging by a number of missing scenes from the trailers, it's definitely clear that Joker's role was reduced. Not to mention, he was softened up to a point that the relationship between him and Harley is sort of along the lines of a Bonnie and Clyde thing, instead of the abusive relationship that defines them as a couple. They're supervillains, and they're both psychotic people. Their relationship should not be as rosy as it looks in the film. This film really didn't need a villain since the team is composed of villains, but the Enchantress and her brother are the villains of the film. And because the focus is on the Suicide Squad members, you forget they're even in the film at times. Suicide Squad is a character-driven movie, so ultimately the plot is second fiddle. But even then, I'm not really sure what the actual plot of the film was. Not to mention, some characters like Slipknot, Captain Boomerang, Katana, and Killer Croc got nothing to do besides a few action beats and some comedic moments, so it's a bit unusual for a character-driven movie to have most of its cast not really be fully realized. The main idea is that Amanda Waller recruits supervillains to prepare for a threat to Superman level, but the Suicide Squad are tasked to do a basic rescue mission, and the Superman level threat they face in the Enchantress at the finale is something they personally chose to do, rather than a mission that's given to them by Amanda Waller. Ultimately, because the Suicide Squad are characterized to be quirky and likable rogue-type characters rather than as supervillains, and Amanda Waller makes a lot of decisions that look cruel at first glance, it really makes her look like the real villain. Plus, her choices are incredibly odd. Only El Diablo and Enchantress have actual powers. The other characters have extraordinary abilities, but are otherwise completely human. So if she wanted to prove her point about weaponizing metahumans in the face of a Superman level threat, I'm not sure if these are the right people to prove her point. Lastly, a lot of stuff I found funny in the trailers. In the context of the actual film, those funny moments fell completely flat, especially with them spamming pop songs left and right, which really clashed with the comic moments being able to land. What we get in the end is a movie that's having an identity crisis. It tries to do a lot, but it's not sure what it wants to be in spite of that. There are times the movie felt restrained, going for stuff that really pushes the PG-13 rating, but then it quickly pulls back and tames itself to really avoid overstepping its boundaries. The Joker and Harley relationship, as mentioned before, is one example. There's no abuse involved. Then there's the CGI army, which consists of military soldiers turning into blob monsters, allowing the Suicide Squad to essentially kill humans without looking bad, because the humans are now monsters. Really, the whole movie is sloppily put together, and what should be a fun concept in practice of supervillains being forced to do good is instead a giant head scratcher. There were some funny and fun moments, but there were few and far in between. The theater I watched this in was mostly silent and had a few chuckles here and there, but it wasn't an invigorating experience. If you guys watched Suicide Squad and enjoyed it, that's great because I'm mostly indifferent towards it. It isn't like Batman v Superman where I didn't agree with the creative and story decisions made in the movie, but at the very least I'm not likely to forget about it, whereas with Suicide Squad I will. People have compared it to Guardians of the Galaxy, and it did remind me of Guardians of the Galaxy at times, but if they were trying to emulate Guardians of the Galaxy, spamming the movie with songs every couple of minutes was not the way to do it. But yeah, overall I would probably give Suicide Squad something along the lines of a D+ to C. It's not super bad like the reviews make out to be, but again, it's not really that great either, and it's mostly a meh. That's the gameplay and commentary. Hope you enjoyed it, and Insanity is out.